And welcome to the Let's Record It podcast here on 110 Broadcasting. I'm David Stiles, joined by Craig Messer. And Craig, this is the first show that we've done in a while here on 110 Broadcasting. So
yes, it is.
What have you been into lately, man?
Just work.
That's about all there is to do.
That's it. I'm excited for some sports action.
So we're recording this on the Friday after the Lions and Chiefs game. What did you think about the Lions beating the Chiefs?
That's a big deal. I mean, Travis Kelce didn't play.
Do you think it's fair, like Mike Tirico said on the end of that game, like asterisk, like these players were out. Do you think that's fair to the Lions?
I don't think it's fair because that's part of the game. Part of the game is injuries. And, you know, every team has them. I listened to Josh Allen on a podcast, I don't know, a week ago. And he said, you know, he's played like 70-something straight games. He has not missed a game. And he said, now, that doesn't mean I've not been hurt. And he said, if a guy tells you they've never played hurt, they're lying to you. He said, when we're actually out, it's usually pretty serious, as in you really can't go because you go into game one of the season. Usually, you know, if you're playing game one, you're fine. But after game one, you're pretty much hurting in some way. So I don't think it's fair. No, I mean, really, because would it have happened? You can't prove it wouldn't have happened.
Well, I mean,
definitely, it doesn't matter in the record book.
No, in the record book, it's a win. That's like
that's
like watching Chris Buescher win his first ever Cup Series race at Pocono when, you know, there was fog on the track and the place doesn't have any lights. And they're like, well, you know what? We're going to call it. Like, we can't see. He wins the race. And then people go, well, he didn't really win the race. No, like, that's some BS. He won the race. He was up front when the race was called. And last night, the Lions beat the defending Super Bowl champions.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they were missing players or not. They played well enough to win the game. And if you're going to put an asterisk on somebody or say so-and-so had something to do with it, you have to look at Kadarius Toney and how many drops he had. I mean, one of those led to a Lions pick six. I mean, this wasn't just all on Travis Kelce not playing.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. So, yeah, I mean, I think all that matters is that W for the Lions, and they don't, usually get many of those, so it's a good thing for them, I guess.
Well, I think they're trending up. They're supposed
to be. Yeah, they're supposed to be pretty darn good this year, according to some people. So
we'll see.
To me. According to you, yeah. Well, I saw one. Let me think. Two other people maybe that said that. Both are from Michigan, so that probably tints their opinion a little bit. But whatever. That's great. Want to know? It's all you can ask for.
So, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, the Lions haven't won a playoff game since January 5th of 1992.
That's a little bit of time.
It's been a while.
That's a couple years.
And
I mean, they've had some talent. Like, it's not like they've been talentless either. That's a big thing, They've had parts. They just, I don't know. It could be, being a Panthers fan is hard sometimes, but it's still better than a lot of teams. You really put it in context like that.
Well, at least the Panthers have had a look at a Super Bowl here in recent years. I mean, the last time they did that was 2015?
Yeah.
And we were 15-1. So it's not like we were terrible, but at the same time, I think I've seen 2 Super Bowl appearances from the Panthers in my lifetime. What was the first one? 2005, and then the other one was in
2003.
Yeah, 2003, and then the other one's in 2015.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a lot of fans probably never even have. I mean, really, think about Lions fans.
Yeah,
if they were born in, they've not experienced that.
Yeah, I mean, they were 12-4 in 1991, and then they have not won a playoff game since January 5th of 1992.
Yeah.
That's 30 plus years.
That's a while. That's a while.
That is a while. So the NFL is getting ready to kick off, and we know that the NFL kind of rules all. But for me, I also cover some high school football, and the high school is already in week 4. So we've got a bunch of different teams in North Carolina that are really good. In the 4A side, Grimsley is the best team. And I think on the 3A side, I want to say that Crest is, yes, they are. They are ranked number one.
Yeah.
Right behind Kings Mountain. But
Yeah.
a big story for you, because you still live in the area, is Pisgah has started off 3-0, and
Yep.
they're currently ranked 24th. That's a pretty good start, and I think they play Hayesville
They
tonight.
play Hayesville tonight. That should be another win. So we'll see. I mean, might help them bump them up another spot. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. To me, it's hard to do high school rankings because every region has their own battles and their own differences. And so it's like, how do you compare a team here to a 3A team on the coast, to a 3A team in the middle of the state? So, I mean, we're a big state. So it's kind of tough. I actually wish that we would go to more divisions besides just 4A.
Well, I've heard that they're going to try to move to a bigger classification system in the coming years, which I think is good. I think you're right. I mean,
yeah, I think there needs to be. But I will say, so like it passed. Let's see, they voted on it the spring, maybe. They had to get so many athletic directors or principals to vote on it, and they did. They approved it. And I think it goes to the North Carolina General Assembly at some point in time, and they have to approve it as well. So hopefully they do. I don't know if they will or not. I don't see why they wouldn't. It brings in more revenue if you really think about it. So,
yeah. So it's saying that they've amended to expand the classifications, and it has passed, and it'll go into effect in 2025. And there will be a 64 school cap on all classes, bringing it to at least 7, starting in the fall of 2025.
That's a big step.
So
a good step.
It said it needed 324 of the 432 principals to vote yes. So it looks like it passed by a good margin.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
good.
To me, I think that's good, because even in some of the contests that I've covered, say last week, West Rowan taking on Mooresville. Mooresville is I would say kind of a medium-sized 4A team. I mean, a lot of kids go to Mooresville. West Rowan, they're a 3A team, and they're a little bit down, and Mooresville just mollywopped them. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They were just outclassed and outmatched pretty much the whole game, and that's no offense to the West Rowan kids. It's just that's the way sometimes it shakes out when you're playing high school sports. And to me, I think that high school football is still a very pure form of that sport, because you're getting a lot of not first-time players, but true things can happen. And I was talking to a guy the other day in the gym, and I was telling him this, and he goes, yeah, he says, think about it. In college, you may see a pass 30 yards out from the end zone. So, like, if the ball's spotted on the 30, he says you may see that pass completed, 10, 15% of the time for a touchdown?
Right.
He's like, in high school, you could see a 30-yard bomb like 25% of the time, because some kid is going to mess up, and it's not anything on the kid. It's just those mistakes happen at this level of football. And so you get to see some pretty cool stuff. And for me, I think that's the exciting thing about watching high school football. And another matchup that I know is kind of prevalent to your area is Tuscola is getting ready to play Swain. Swain 3-0, Tuscola 2-1. So another big rivalry matchup here in Western North Carolina.
That's going to be a good match. Swain, usually is pretty solid. And I think this is probably let's see, who did Tuscola lose to? Asheville?
Yes.
Out of the gate. Swain's tough.
Beat Polk the week before.
Polk. Yeah. That's not saying a lot, but
it was a close game. Polk played them very, very close. So I mean, I
actually read that Tuscola had never beaten Polk in the history of play. Yeah, and I don't know how many times they've played, but they had never beat them. So I guess that's one accomplishment there. But breaking in a new coach over there on that side of the county, so with Jonathan Crompton. So I'm sure they're looking at some, hungry for that success. So,
well, I mean, he definitely has the resume to back it up. I mean,
for sure.
NFL player. Yeah,
and I'll say he was I believe, offensive coordinator for West Henderson last year, and they were like phenomenal on offense. And I think they pretty much said it was all him. Like, the credit goes to him. So he seems to definitely know what he's doing in that aspect of coaching. So we'll see. Fun times ahead, hopefully for both teams.
Well, last week it was a pretty good week for Carolina football teams. UNC beat South Carolina. Duke beat Clemson.
Right.
Two big signature wins for both of those schools in the ACC. And then we've got news that the ACC is expanding. They're going to add Cal, Stanford, and SMU in the coming years. And for me, that's a really tricky subject because I think that they're going to end up changing the name of the ACC. And it's been the ACC as long as I can remember. It's pretty much the whole time I've been alive. And so for me, I'm really looking at this from a logistics standpoint. I mean, of course, football is going to be fine. They're going to put those guys on a charter plane and they'll go wherever they need to go.
Right.
Because football makes money at all of these schools, regardless of how good they are. For me, I'm looking at like, what happens to your softball team?
Yeah, your
golf team.
I mean, really, I believe I read this or heard this. There's two sports at schools that make money, and that's men's basketball and football. And obviously, football makes the most. No denying that. But outside of those sports, those two sports carry the rest of the athletic department. So you're investing a lot of money in some of these Olympic sports to travel across the country to play these schools. That's logistically going to be kind of tough, I think. But it's going to have to happen. I mean, because they're coming. So I'm not convinced that the ACC will last 10 more years, though, in any form. I think the SEC and the Big 10, I guess is still technically its name, are going to pretty much pick the bones and take who they want, and then the rest will be left to fend for themselves to figure something out. Probably go to minor conferences is my guess. So it's depressing to me because you take away a lot of traditional rivalries that are a lot of fun. And I understand what they're doing with trying to add. I think they were too late. I think they delayed too long. They should have added teams a lot sooner. While the Big Ten and SEC were getting who they wanted. But at the same time, Bubba Cunningham, UNC grad, who was the commissioner of the ACC, locked the whole conference in a terrible financial deal with ESPN, for a very long period of time. I can't remember the years, but I mean, at the time it was good, but the rate doesn't increase like it should have. So you're making, not a lot of money, not near what the other conferences are making. So because of just, we'll blame that Carolina education. In case you can't tell, I'm not a Carolina fan. So,
well, to me, I think that it would be better to just go to traditional geographical conferences.
Yeah, it absolutely would be.
I think it would be wise to take all of the Division I football teams in the state of Texas and put them in a conference together.
That would be all right.
I think then you take Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, take those three states, maybe Tennessee, make a power conference there. Because I mean, who would you would have what? Alabama, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Memphis.
Poor Vandy.
Oh man, Vandy. poor guys. Very good college.
Good
but
college.
They're not. But sports wise, they're just not there.
Didn't they win in baseball not too long ago?
Yeah, they did. And Dansby Swanson was from Vanderbilt. Huge.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he came from Vanderbilt. Usually have a very good baseball program. But Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Maybe even Georgia Southern. Put all those guys together, Mississippi, Old Dominion. That would be a very competitive conference. Alabama. And then do like a Florida, conference. You'd have what? UCF, UF, FSU, Miami. Maybe bring a couple more of those in. But then if you just did it in North Carolina, I mean, you're thinking what? App, Wake Forest, Duke, UNC, maybe East Carolina.
Yeah.
NC State. Yeah, that would be a very competitive, I think, conference in sports all around. I think
you really could do a Carolina conference in itself. You had Clemson, South Carolina, Coastal Carolina in there.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I mean, that's, maybe they need to let us run the NCAA. I don't know.
I don't know if I want that kind of power.
I'll take it. I'll take it all day.
You can have
it. But the current format's not working. I don't think. I think the NIL, everything. I get its use, and I agree. They can make the money. I mean, I don't have a problem with that, but the rules on that, from everything I hear, are just not uniform. It's kind of like, you can do this one day, the next day you can't. So,
well, how do you feel about the
there's a lot of
NIL?
issues.
I mean, what is your, main stance on NIL?
I'm okay with it. Overall, doesn't really bother me. Coach K talked about it the other day, and he said, basically, we have a pay-for-play system now, which we do. I just think it should be fair across the board. And I don't mean fair pay for everybody. I mean fair opportunities for everybody.
To me, I think it was unfair a couple of years ago where you have these entities, and let's be honest, I mean, college football is a business in itself, and I think it's unfair to have these multi-million-dollar, $100 million businesses being able to use basically free labor from college athletes where they can't get another job, make money on their own, and you've got kids that are struggling to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, yet they're using their name, image, and likeness on multiple different artifacts to generate money for the university. And then they turn right around and say, well, you're getting a free education. But to me, it's not. I mean, I don't think it's fair.
It's not. And I think, maybe as a universal thing, you provide an education. This is in opposition to NIL. If they were going to do something else, they could do, the free education, free food card. But there's a lot of times like those things run out. Like I've heard of athletes that are like starving because they have nothing left on their card.
Yeah.
And you should be able to stipend them enough to eat.
Yeah. And
they're generating money regardless of where level they are. They're generating money for your school.
You're getting the classification of like what was a meal and what's not a meal. And it's like, well, if you just give them a bagel, that's a snack. But if you put cream cheese on it, then it's a meal. And I'm like, what is like
nothing straightforward.
Like, what is this? Like the lawyers get involved with things, and then it all just goes down.
Yeah, they ruin everything.
And so this is how my Saturday went. Western's playing Arkansas. It was a 1:00 kick. I said, you know what? I'm going to turn this on. I think Western, we played GT really well last year. Like it was close for halftime. I thought, man, maybe we can play Arkansas pretty tight and make a game out of it. Like I didn't think we were going to win. I mean, Arkansas, SEC powerhouse school. Like at least keep it close.
Yeah.
Turn it on. Western receives the kick. Start at their own 20. They go 3 and out. They punt it away. Arkansas gets the ball. They score in 2 plays. And then I turned it off. That's kind of how it went. I didn't want to have my heart broken that badly. And then I kept looking at the score, and it was 56-13 at the end, which is, that tracks. That tracks for Western. But Western does have a big game coming up this weekend, and they've been one of the most heavily attended football programs in the Southern Conference for the past 3 years. So Kerwin Bell Western has. Yeah, for football. They've been doing a lot of good stuff recently, and I think Kerwin Bell, as a coach, he's got some NFL experience. I think that he's kind of riding the ship, and I think Western could be pretty good in a couple years. But they're playing Samford this weekend at home, and they've beaten the Bulldogs before at home, but this is a Southern Conference opponent. So I saw a tweet the other day. Kerwin Bell was asking everyone, if you're in the Western North Carolina area, come out and support the Catamounts, and let's make the place rocking. Whitmire, EJ Whitmire Stadium. Let's
think they'll get a good crowd.
I think so. I think so. I mean, even
what does that place hold?
I'm not real sure. I mean, it's kind of funny. Like when I was going there, people would stay until halftime, and then we would leave after the mountains because it was like, well, we don't have a chance. And then Coach Spear came, and everyone kind of got jacked up about football, and then. He was good for a couple of seasons. We had some good seasons. We had a couple of kids go to the NFL, and then it kind of petered off.
Kind of flamed quick, though, too.
I mean, he was good for 3 seasons and then was bad for 5 or 6 seasons in a row.
They left him too long. And didn't they like fire everybody but him one time? And
Oh yeah, they
restart?
got rid of everybody
and
and they kept
absolutely
Spear.
nothing.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Nothing.
this made it worse. And so I think
Yeah,
this
it was
current
worse.
administration has got a good foundation. It's kind of like what the Panthers have done and Tepper has done, where he's actually hired a proven NFL guy.
A lot better than what they had last year. That's a good time to transition to the Panthers. That's
I think
a good
so.
spot. I'm excited about Sunday. I don't know if they'll win. I think they will, but not many other people seem to think they will, which kind of blows my mind because Atlanta is not that great.
So Western, before we get fully blown on to this,
Western, yeah,
Western has will seat 13,742 people.
It's pretty good.
Yep. To me, it's a very beautiful stadium anyway. I mean, you got the Ramsey Center on your left if you sit on the home side, and then you've got
that place is nice.
It is nice. It is very nice.
Really, I think Ramsey's nice.
Yeah, I like the Ramsey Center a lot. I've been to a lot of basketball games in the Ramsey Center.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to the Panthers. We'll talk about another Carolina Cat.
Yeah.
For me, I'm kind of like you. I think though that I'm not going to let my expectations be too high just yet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've got to have a little bit of realistic expectations. We've got a unproven quarterback. We just drafted him, but it is nice to not have to worry about the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, we got a guy we're obviously going to stick with for what, at least 2 years, probably.
I'd say you ride him out through his rookie contract. I mean,
and then I mean, if there's nothing there, you start over. I mean, you're not losing. Well, lose time, but I mean, what we were doing wasn't working, obviously.
Well, to me,
at least we have attempted to right the ship.
To me, when you look at the whole situation where Rule wanted Darnold, and that seemed to be the only guy he wanted, and we had other possible options.
Yeah.
And he comes in, and Teddy Bridgewater is kind of like this bridge, and then Teddy played okay a couple years ago. I mean, it was
he's not decent. The worst. He's not the worst.
But I think the whole thing was that they ran this whole offense through Christian McCaffrey, and I love Christian McCaffrey. Nothing against the guy. Super hard worker, great football player.
Yeah.
Hated to see him get traded. But it's one of those deals where they just ran him into the ground.
Yeah. I'm personally glad he's gone.
I am too.
And that is not because I don't like him. But they were just going to abuse him, and he was never going to get anything out of it. At least he has a chance to win.
Yeah, he's with a solid team now.
Yeah, and what I think they should have done, I think they should have transitioned him into a slot receiver. But that's my opinion. So
I don't know. I think he's a pretty good running back. I kind of like him in that running back position. And I think that the 49ers use him correctly, though. They use him correctly. They don't.
Yeah.
They're not putting him in the backfield and saying, okay, you're going to run it 34 times and then also catch it 12 times this game.
Well, that's true. So maybe not completely transition him over to a slot receiver, but they could have definitely took some of them hits off of him.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, and they didn't. I mean, that's all they did. And I'll say straight up, I'm not a Cam Newton fan. Wasn't a Cam Newton fan from day one.
I'm thankful for what Cam was able to do. I'm going to go ahead and preface that. I think that he was good. I think he was good for the time period that we had him, but I also think that current administration, Ron Rivera, and I love Ron Rivera, I think that Jerry Richardson basically said, this is our guy. We're going to ride and die with him. And as long as he's here, he's going to start and he's going to play. And I think that's where he kind of got in a catch-22 because he got injured in that Thursday night Steelers game, and they wouldn't sit him. And I think if they would have done that, his career probably could have been prolonged a little bit. But I think after that, he went downhill very quickly. And so for me, I think it was just time to move on from Cam. And I'm glad that we're kind of having a whole reset. I mean, they built the offensive line last year. They played really well together. I know a lot of people say, well, your preseason was awful. They were running vanilla plays, people. They're not going to show anybody what we actually have in the preseason.
That's my thing. Like, I found this Carolina Panthers message board that I read a little bit, and these people are just having a cow. And I'm really thinking, I mean, you're brand new head coach in Carolina. You've got a brand new quarterback. You've got all these new coaches in the place. Why would you run anything you plan on running in the preseason? I wouldn't. I'd
No.
do as vanilla as possible, wouldn't let anybody know anything. And then I would come out in game one and show it all. I'd try to blast Atlanta. That's what I would do. And that's what I'm hoping is going to happen. But, we'll see. The conference is not good. It's definitely winnable, I think, for Carolina. I think they might be, the Saints are a little more established, I guess, just because Carr is a little more proven, so they might have a little bit of edge there, but you never know. I mean, if the Panthers come out and they get hot, they can definitely win the South, I think.
Well, the thing with the Falcons is you've got Desmond Ridder. He's going to start for them, and then they've got some really good pieces. I mean, Kyle Pitts is really good. They've got Cordell Patterson, who they basically listed him as a joker. They put a J beside him on the depth chart, which means he's going to play anywhere. So he's kind of an anomaly. But Carolina last year did a really good job. I mean, their defense is solid. They beat Atlanta at home on Thursday night in a tough game, and they almost beat them in Atlanta.
I was about to say, let's be honest, they beat them twice.
Yeah, they really did.
I mean, they beat Atlanta twice. It doesn't. Now we're talking about things that happen, and it's not going to reflect that in the scorebook or on the season stats. But they won in Atlanta, and that was absolutely robbed. It was an absolute rob. I just hope that's what I'm thinking. I'm hoping they can just do that next Sunday, beat them again. So,
well,
we were there.
Yeah, we were there. We were there in Carolina. It was a wet, rainy night. It was
a rough night, and our buddy was late, so caused us to be late. Thanks a lot.
Well, we did get to see an interception, and
no, we got to
see a lot, and it was a lot of fun.
We got to see a lot. It was.
And to be honest, there are no bad seats at Bank of America. I think that you can see wherever you sit at in that place,
I've been
even
there,
if you have to sit in the nosebleeds.
Yeah, I mean that was the second time I've been there, and both up top in different sections, and you can see fine. I mean, the first time I went was for a concert, so only one game, but I mean you could see anything. It wasn't a big deal. So, nice stadium. It's ranked real low though, but I guess because of its age, I don't know, because I thought it was pretty nice. But.
Well, it's one of the only stadiums that is not owned by the city. So it's a privately owned stadium. That means
who owns it? Does Bank of America actually own it?
Tepper owns it. It's his stadium. That's why he opened it up to more concerts. We've had more concerts here in the Charlotte area. So
it makes sense.
He did get flamethrowed a little bit for when he did an interview with someone from the Charlotte Observer, and he was like, "Well, I brought music to the Charlotte area. I'm the first one that's ever done that." And I was like, "Wait, what?"
That's not true.
No. Okay, let's curb our expectations there a little bit.
He's a little full of himself.
Yeah, he is. Well, I mean, he should be. He's a multi-billion-dollar guy. He owns a football team.
It's probably hard not to be in that situation. Yeah. So. I'm not a big Tepper fan, though. I really ain't. But, a lot of that was for how he initially handled a lot of things, and I don't think he came in handling it correctly. But I do think he's seen the error, and hopefully, I mean, he has attempted to fix it. That's for sure. He has attempted. So I think I probably should say, the jury's out on what I actually think on him. But after the first little bit, I wasn't a fan. But
we did get to meet both of the general managers at camp this year.
I like
Scott Fitterer and then Dan Morgan. So
I'm a big Fit fan. I really am. I think he's good. I think in on every deal, and they really are. I mean,
they really are.
They're always trying to make moves at least. I think that's a benefit. And I'll say one player I'm excited to watch is Adam Thielen. Sorry, I added a D. Because he's a really good receiver. He just happened to play with, what would you say, a generational talent in Minnesota.
With Kirk Cousins?
No. With Jefferson coming on.
Oh, yeah. Well, that too. That's the thing. Like people, I said Kirk Cousins because I actually do think that Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback.
Oh, I do too. I mean, they can't. I don't know. They kind of blow my mind every year in the postseason, but I think Kirk's fine. I would take Kirk in a heartbeat. I really would. And he seems like a really good guy too. Like it's not just. I don't know. He seems solid. So, I wouldn't call him a generational talent, but I think he's a good quarterback. I do think that. Sorry, I do think that. hopefully we have a good receiving core because that's big to a rookie quarterback. I think some guys that can at least catch your pass.
Well, I mean, there's been a couple of guys that are already questionable. So
I know.
it's
but Chalk, right? Chalk
yeah.
is questionable, and then who else? There was another receiver, right? Questionable.
Well, I know that Terrence Marshall has been.
Is it Terrence Marshall? Okay.
Yeah, Terrence Marshall, I think, is healthy. I think Adam Thielen is listed as questionable. DJ Chark is out. Austin Corbett is out with the knee injury that he suffered last year, still with the ACL. Yeah. So currently,
Mingo's good to go. I know that.
Yeah. Raheem Blackshear is also listed on the depth chart. Laviska Shenault, I like him. Yep, Jonathan Mingo's listed as the third receiver, and then I'm excited to see how well Hayden Hurst works out.
I am too. I think that's a solid addition too, and I don't get some praise like I think it should. I think he's going to find a whole new thing in Carolina. I really do.
I think so too, and he's a South Carolina guy, so he's kind of a
South Carolina guy. So that's got to be a little. That's got to help. I think.
So the last little thing
motivating.
Last little thing I'm going to ask you about is Brian Burns.
Yeah. Has he signed yet? Have they got a deal today? I've not looked.
I really do hope that he plays. I mean, it hasn't really been said that he's confirmed playing or not playing yet.
If he doesn't play, that's going to hurt a lot, a whole lot. I this might be a hot take. But I think last year when they got rid of Christian, I think they should have traded Burns too, because they would have got a lot of value for Burns. And I think they could have added a lot more pieces, but they didn't. So I like Burns, and I hope he stays around now that we have him. So we'll see, but he needs to play. I don't think you hold the team hostage because you don't have a new contract. I don't think that's fair.
Well,
especially when you're in negotiations,
I mean, it says that he has, as of Friday, he is still seeking out a long-term contract extension. And
so, I mean, he wants to be here.
Wants to be here.
That says to me. He wants to be in Carolina. And that's a good thing because, if you didn't, he wouldn't even be doing that.
Well, that was one of the pieces where, they thought that he may be traded in the offseason, kind of like how DJ Moore was, and they said, no, we're not trading him. He's a foundational player. Which I think speaks very highly of him and the character that he has and for what he means to his team. But at the same time,
that, they need to come to an agreement.
Yeah.
It shouldn't drag out. It needs to be, done.
Well, at some point, I know that he wants top dollar, but at some point, I don't want to say this. He hasn't been paid the way other edge rushers have been paid, and it's now time to pay him. That's just kind of how I feel.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to have top talent, you got to pay top talent.
Well, what are you most excited for this weekend? Are you excited for the Panthers game, or is there another game that you're going to be watching?
No, it's the Panthers game. I say I like college football. I do watch it. I mean, I have favorites, but the NFL is just, to me, on another level. And I don't like. And when it's funny because I can't stand the NBA. So I mean, really, NFL, college basketball. College basketball's ahead, but that's my two favorite sports leagues. If you call college basketball a sports league, I don't really know what it is right now. But so I'm excited. I'm excited for the NFL being back for sure.
Well, after a awesome start with the Lions beating the Chiefs in Thursday night football, we've got a couple of awesome matchups here in the high school ranks. Mooresville is open this week. They'll be back next week taking on Cox Mill at home. Pisgah is playing Hayesville. I wanted to say Hiwassee. Similar area.
That would be a embarrassment there.
Yeah. So Pisgah taking on Hayesville. Tuscola traveling to Swain. It's going to be an awesome weekend for football. I'm glad that fall is here. I think this will be the last weekend that we've had about 90-degree temperature. So
I think this is the last little gasp of that weather. I'm at least hoping. So
well, thanks for checking out the show. Me and Craig have really enjoyed hanging out. We'll be back next Friday with some more topics to discuss here on 110 Broadcasting. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. You can give us a call if you really want to. We've got a phone number, 828-549-8842. If you want to call and leave us a hot take, we would really appreciate it. And then
that would be fun. Yeah, call us.
Give us a call. If you do, we can put you up on the show. I can play you back from right here in the home studios. and you might hear yourself on the podcast. So, again, thanks for joining us, and I guess we'll talk to you next week. Craig, any parting words?
Enjoy the weekend.
Live it up like Jimmy Buffett would do.
He said, live it up, right? That's
Breathe in, breathe out.
That's right. Rest in peace.
Rest in paradise, Jimmy. All right, we'll talk to you guys next week.
Bye.